Hello, hello. Okay, so if you watched the last lesson, you will know that we looked at the rec centre in chapter 5, and I said we're going to have to go over chapter 5 again because it's too much in chapter 5 to go over all in one go. That's what we're going to do now because we need to talk about the introduction of Larry Lasalle, such a big character. So what that means is we need to be back on chapter 5. However, the good thing about it is we don't need any of this. So we can just scroll past all of that. We don't need that. We need this bit. So bear in mind, whenever you're thinking about the introduction of Larry Lasalle, the setting in which he is introduced. He is a tall, slim man. And the highlighter's not working. There we go. A tall, slim man. He has blonde hair that tumbles over his forehead, and his smile reveals dazzling movie star teeth. Now, if we just go through this bit for a second. First of all, we've got this idea that he is tall and slim. So he has like a dancer's figure. We also have the idea that he has this blonde hair. So he's presented as kind of attractive. You see where it's tumbling over his forehead. It gives him kind of a romantic appearance. And then his dazzling movie star teeth give us two things there, because we have the fact that they are movie star teeth. Obviously, again, he's attractive, but movies are fake. So it's this idea that there's something fake or something performative about him. Teeth are usually seen as threatening. So if you bare your teeth to someone, you're threatening them. And the fact that they're dazzling, if you're dazzled by something, you're blinded. So although it sounds good on the surface, it's almost like there's something being hidden under that. He's a bit fake, there's something a bit threatening about him, kind of coming through in that first description. So he's wonderful, he's beautiful, and surface level, he seems fantastic. But there's a little undercurrent of something else running underneath there. Good morning, he said. My name is Larry Lasalle. Very plain, very introductory ending. And for some reason, when he says his name, that's right, it's real, his name is real, everyone claps. So it's this idea that he automatically gets praised for anything that he does. And they, for some reason, they love him without question. He's very impressive. He makes a very good first impression. But think about the fact that they're applauding him at the idea that something is real. Again, you have this idea of like real or fake coming through there. Now, they describe Larry Lasalle in a little bit more detail here. So they talk about him having the broad shoulders of an athlete and the narrow hips of a dancer. He was both. So consistently you have the idea that he's got broad shoulders, so we know that he's strong, but he's got narrow hips of a dancer, so we know that he's graceful. He's able to swing a bat with authority, so he has authority both on the baseball field and over these children. He is able to tell them how to behave, and they behave in the way that he wants them to because they respect him so much. He hits home runs, which suggests that he's really just good at his game, but also you have this idea of like a baseball analogy. And he leads them through their exercises. So although the parts of the sentence that might seem important are the idea of like, oh, he's a dancer, oh, he's both, oh, it's the exercise and calisthenics. It's not. Look at the choice of the verbs there, right? He hit, quite fun. He led us. He has authority. He's pushing it through. He was a dancer, and then I would take this bit with a touch of Fred Astaire in his walk, his feet barely touching the floor. So he's seen as this beautiful movie star element. He's seen as very attractive and very capable as a dancer. He could tap dance with machine gun speed. Now again, you've got that language kind of giving you this idea that he's a threat. Yeah, he can tap dance with machine gun speed suggests he's very good at tap dancing. But actually, that image of a machine gun should be in your head, this idea of something threatening or damaging or dangerous when we think about Larry Lasalle. And he makes daring leaps. So he's able to do things that are quite brave. But mostly he was a teacher. Now, the fact that he was a teacher and then he'd tell all the things he did, dancing, arts and crafts, choral group, musical shows, puts him in a position of authority, but also puts him in a position where he should be trusted by those children. So you normally trust a teacher, but Larry Lasalle has put himself in the position of a teacher, but maybe he shouldn't be trusted. And then there's a description of the rec centre, all of the things that make a person a hero we talked about last time. And then here, Francis tells us that he's lonely and that's why he goes out. But Larry Lasalle made a speech urging everyone to participate in at least one activity. So he's trying to get them all involved. He's getting buy-in from these kids who don't have anywhere else to be. They're lonely. They don't know how to make friends by themselves. And Larry Lasalle is kind of bringing them in and making them feel good about themselves. And he talks about how Larry Lasalle didn't embarrass him by calling him to the front. So he feels that he is so good and so kind. Now, what I want to point out first of all is have a little look at the way that Larry's name is given. It's always Larry Lasalle. They don't just call him Lasalle and they don't just call him Larry. They call him Larry Lasalle together as though he's so important that he requires his full name all of the time. So obviously that's not what we'd normally do. Now, this is what Miss Roberts would call a money quote. Larry Lasalle was everywhere in the centre. If you have nothing else from this, that's what you should take. Because Larry Lasalle was everywhere in the centre is directly drawing a link. Ooh, no, Miss Gowland cannot type today. Between the setting and the character. So Larry Lasalle's character and the setting of the rec centre are interlinked. Now you're going to remember the rec centre, the white paint couldn't quite cover up the black patches of the mould. It's falling down. Someone has renamed it because it's actually a wreck, but it's pretending to be a nice place for the kids to go. It's all kinds of problematic and it's doomed, right? It's a place of doom. It's a place where bad things happen. And you need to keep that in your brain when you're thinking about the presentation of Larry Lasalle, because what the author is doing there is foreshadowing what's going to happen later. But they tell you all the good things here that Larry Lasalle did. So he tamed the notorious schoolyard bully. So he tames the bullies for them. And he doesn't just tame the bully, he teaches the bully to sing from a kind of childhood point of view. Being able to turn a bully around in that way is really impressive. It's almost heroic. Remember, the title of the novel is Heroes. But Joey LeBlanc sees through it consistently. So Joey LeBlanc keeps saying, still a bad luck place, still a bad luck place. And he points out here, it doesn't matter because Larry Lasalle's only changed Bitch Bertineau on the surface. He's only changed the bully on the surface. And the bully is still a bully the rest of the time. But we have another idea of Larry Lasalle here. And can you see again, you've got this word guidance. This is how he's leading them. Larry says, you are all stars. Well, we talk again about the silver star for heroism as being a motif in this novel, and the idea of stars goes through it. Larry Lasalle is talking about the idea of stars in terms of movies, but equally, he's trying to make them feel special. He makes them all feel special. And by making them feel special, they're more likely to do whatever he tells them to do. We have a bit more of a clue then about Larry and his past. We found out that Larry had been a star, which automatically makes us question the idea of what it means for somebody to be a star. And he'd been performing in the nightclubs in New York and Chicago. So they've got a faded newspaper clipping. It's faded because his time of being a star is past. It's gone past a long time. But there he is, standing beside a nightclub placard that read, "Starring Larry Lasalle." We knew little about him and he discouraged questions. It's interesting that he discourages questions because if they're all stars, why doesn't he want them to know about what it was like when he was a star? If he posed for that picture in a tuxedo and he was a star in that and he was in the newspaper, why doesn't he want to tell anyone about it? All we kind of know about him is that he won some first prizes in some dance contests. But there's this question here. Why did he turn his back on show business and return to Frenchtown? It's suspicious. Why would he turn his back on it? Probably something happened. Nobody dared ask him. There were dark hints that he had gotten into trouble. Now, we don't know what gotten into trouble means at this point. It could mean anything. But obviously later on in the novel, I think we get a pretty good idea of what it means when it says that he got into trouble in New York City. Again, can you see how they're dazzled? So like he had dazzling teeth, they're dazzled by his talent and energy, they're blinded. And because of that, they don't think about the rumours. If anything, the rumours make him seem more interesting. Look at the choice of language there, mystery, glamour. He was our champion and we were happy to be in his presence. So it's this idea, a champion is another word for a hero. So it's this idea that it doesn't matter what Larry does. Larry is a hero to the children. Nicole comes there and straight away, instantly is the word that they use in the text, caught the attention of Larry Lasalle. Again, I would definitely talk about how this is foreshadowing what happens later in the novel. So she dances all of the time at the rec centre. Obviously Frances is completely twisted around by that because she's more interested in the dancing and he's more interested in just her all of the time. And again, it's still talked about as a bad luck place. So that was chapter 5, but focusing on Larry Lasalle. Your job is going to be to talk about Cormier's presentation of Larry Lasalle in chapter 5. So I will put that on Classroom View. Have a lovely day. Enjoy the sunshine, stay safe, and I will speak to you next lesson.